Hello, I'm Joe Foley. I'm the Executive Vice President of the Marquette County League of Women Voters. I would just like to let the county board know that we're going to be having a candidate forum for the primary candidates in the 109th Michigan House District on June 30th at the Marquette Township Hall. You each have gotten a little piece of paper with that information on it. That's it. But we'd like to invite you, and also if you can't come to tune into the live stream that we're going to have. We also would very much love to have questions submitted in advance if you're not there that night that you would like addressed to the candidates. And your names will not be attached to the questions. We make them all fairly neutral. But if any issues are especially important to you that you'd like to hear the candidates' views on, we'd love to have those questions. And there's an email address on there for you to send them if you like. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all the good work you do.
Thank you.
Public comment? Public comment? Any further public comment? Any public comment? No. Thank you. Review of claims and accounts. Total expenditures for the period of June 3rd, 2022 through June 16, 2022. Total expenditures were $1,273,273.05. This does not reflect the check payable to Elder Delta Co-op Electric. Motion to pay the bills. Motion by Commissioner Elholm, support by Commissioner Adney.
I'll support it, but I don't know if there was,
You
missed that one, there usually do two of them together, the two first two go together.
The bi-weekly payroll.
Oh, it's on the bottom.
Excuse me, and to include the bi-weekly payroll for the period ending June 11th, 2020.
Friendly amendment to your motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We moved to do, to take both of those.
Yes. I was separating the
I know.
$732,884.72. So motion by Commissioner Elholm, support by Commissioner Nordine. Question or comments on the bills? Having heard none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
And I would move to pay check number 212866 to Elder Delta as well.
Motion by Commissioner Nordine, support. Support by Commissioner Adney. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One abstention.
Okay, you abstain. By Commissioner Elholm. Public hearings. We are going to open up a public hearing on the Brownfield Authority. We're going to pause our board meeting briefly and open up the public hearing. We have, I believe, I'll read in the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority regarding the adoption of the Brownfield Plan, Aaron Land and Holdings, LLC Development, City of Negaunee, and Marquette County, to all interested persons in Marquette County. The property consists of 38 acres of vacant land, including public rights, the public right-of-way adjoining the property in the City of Negaunee. The property is located east of downtown Negaunee and on the southern border of Moss Street. The project will involve developing 27 residential lots and supporting public infrastructure. Primarily eligible activities include environmental site assessment, public infrastructure improvements, site preparation, brownfield plan development, legal fees associated with selling and conveying the property. Brownfield conditions that qualify the property as eligible is the property under the ownership and control of Marquette County Land Bank Authority, and thus meets one of the conditions that render the property eligible as defined in the Brownfield Redevelopment Act. The property remains eligible under the plan when sold from the Land Bank Authority. This plan, which includes a site map and legal descriptions of the parcels, is available for public inspection at the 234 West Farragut Avenue here at the county, and all aspects of the plan are open for discussion at public hearing. Having said that, I'm going to turn over to Ann for,
Do you want me to comment now or under the action items?
I think under the public hearing, we should
Okay.
probably have some discussion.
Sure. So, this is a unique project. It is not your typical brownfield site, in that typically when you're hearing about brownfield sites, you're talking about environmental contamination and blighted properties. This is not. This is a 40-acre parcel. It is utilizing and I should have said, I'm speaking to you as Director of the Brownfield Authority and the Director of the Land Bank Authority, not necessarily your finance manager this evening. It's unique in that these two entities are coming together to qualify this site and allow for the infrastructure improvements to be a part of the brownfield plan. We have done this one other time in Marquette County, for those of you who may recall, with the Seal Lake Assisted Living Facility Project, a very unique partnership of the two agencies coming together to allow for this project to happen. So this is a case where I think we're all well aware of the need for housing in Marquette County, and we have a developer who is interested in building homes on this site off of Moss Street. However, the cost of the infrastructure, to extend those infrastructure utilities and roads to that site, make it cost prohibitive to develop the site. This brownfield plan allows for the developer to be reimbursed through tax increment over the life of the brownfield plan. So essentially, the county and the city continue to capture taxes at the value that is set on the property today as a vacant parcel. As they develop the site, the taxes go up, and those taxes are captured to reimburse the developer for their infrastructure costs. The estimated length of the brownfield plan is 15 years. This tonight is the last step in the process. This process has probably been going on about 6 to 9 months, actually. And so the brownfield authority first approves the plan. It then goes to the city of Negaunee, which happened a couple of weeks ago, where the city commission there adopted a resolution in support of the plan. And then this is the last step where we have a public hearing and the county board approves the plan. So what the county board is really doing tonight is offering support for the financing tool through tax increment financing, and essentially giving up that increased tax revenue that you would normally collect on development to support this project. The city of Negaunee has essentially stated that the development of housing is important to them, and why they're supporting this plan. I would also mention, whether it's now or under the action item, that the partners in the development, Elliot Rillo and Corey House, are here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you.
So I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm all for this because I think we need more housing and I think it's a great idea and all that. However, I'm a little bit confused because the brownfield, I always thought was about contaminated areas. So for instance, where the hospital is now, that was a brownfield because that used to be the roundabout for the railroad there. And there's other TIF districts that are allowed. I mean, we have that TIF district that used to be like where Paul Argo was out, right before Bell Hospital, that whole area was a TIF district. So, and that wasn't a brownfield, just a TIF district. So why does this have to be a brownfield and why isn't it just your classic TIF district?
Well, I'll speak to brownfield first. So in Michigan, there are multiple ways that a property can qualify as a brownfield site. And it's site-specific. It's not a zone, it's not an area, it's not an area that's set as, oh, this is a brownfield area. It's very site-specific, project-specific. That's how brownfield is a little bit different than other TIF districts. How it can qualify is either it's contaminated above residential cleanup criteria, it can be a blighted property, it can be a property that's functionally obsolete, it can be a historic resource, believe it or not. That's a new one that the state of Michigan added. And the fifth is if it's owned or under the control of a land bank authority that qualifies for brownfield. That is how this project qualifies. So those are the 5 reasons in the state of Michigan that a project will qualify as brownfield. It's definitely a creative use of the tool to achieve that local units of government objective. Now, as far as other TIF districts, I think the one you're referring to in Ishpeming was a DDA. If I'm not mistaken, it was an expanded downtown development.
It was.
But yeah, there are multiple. DDA is the most common one that you hear about. Of course, the city of Marquette has a citywide LDFA, or Local Development Finance Authority District. So there's a lot of different TIF mechanisms. And a lot of those, like DDAs, LDFAs, are an actual, in the city of LDFA citywide, or in the DDA, it's your downtown district. It's a series of properties that join each other. Brownfield is different in that it is project specific, like I said, and the whole purpose of brownfield is to put challenging sites on a level playing field with a site that doesn't have those challenges. And so in this case, the challenge is lack of infrastructure and inability for the local municipality to fund it.
That sounds like every parcel could qualify. That's all right, though.
With the land bank, theoretically, every parcel could qualify. I mean, and we talked about this a lot at our Brownfield Authority meeting, because housing is different. We haven't really done a project for housing. I think the philosophy of our Brownfield Authority is that we're a tool, we're a financing mechanism, and we're a tool there for that local unit of government to meet their objectives. And so if a local unit of government believes this is a good use of this tool to promote that development in their municipality, I guess the Brownfield Authority feels who are we to stand in their way. So we really look at ourselves as a tool in a creative way to use the statutes to allow that local unit of government to do what they want to do.
And I agree, and I think that the city of Negaunee gives up far more than the county does, so if they feel like they want to do that, then who are we to say not, right? I think that's fine.
I just have one question. Is this on the south side of Moss or the north side?
It is on the west side of Moss, actually, am I right on that?
It's in the south out there.
Pardon?
It's on the same side of the road.
You gotta turn it eastward and go that way, go towards 492, right?
Same side as all the
West
subdivisions are.
492, Steve.
Where Jerry lives, right? Jerry lives.
West side of 492.
West side of 492? Okay.
So south side.
But you're thinking Moscow is in town too, right? Goes near side, but it's outside of
Before
41.
Moss Street,
Outside
towards
of
into
41.
492, because it's still in the city limits. My assumption is.
But it's not working on the south side.
Yeah, same side as the Eastwood Nursing Center, so opposite side from the car dealership.
So I know there were some Negaunee city residents that had reached out to the chair. Scott has those questions, and I'm hopeful that the developer could answer.
Should I get now?
Yes, sir, I would.
Okay, so, I believe most of these were actually addressed. I think we did another hearing in the city of Negaunee as well, but I know that the chairman wanted to raise those today. The question that came to him, and it's from concerned citizens in those subdivisions, specifically were about the connection of the two roads, the connection of the roads to the existing subdivisions. The concern was that those roads are difficult and tight, and maybe explain why they need to connect the roads from the existing subdivisions to the proposed subdivision, and also on the looping of the water mains through that system, so someone can maybe.
Can we get Iron?
Yeah.
Iron Land Holdings?
Yeah,
State your name.
so my name is Elliot Rulo, partner in Iron Ore Land Holdings. I'm 115 Wyland Drive in Marquette. To answer your question about the looping of the road, so it's been mostly a practicality standpoint. And that was our initial thought to loop that. We would have shorter distances for road, water, sewer, gas. Then we started to get some pushback, so we did, discuss with the city manager, Nate Heffron, and, a lot of the concern was the road that's there now is not a cul-de-sac, and so it doesn't even meet modern standards, and it presents like a snow removal issue. And so if we weren't to loop those, we would need to create a cul-de-sac on the other side and just reduce, any efficiencies that we could create by looping this. And it would also increase the project cost, which, I don't know if it would be economical at that point. we would lose real estate, and I don't think the city has real estate on the other side to produce cul-de-sacs on there. So I guess that's our main
So
points.
my question would be, the plan you presented, the Negaunee City Planning Commission has already vetted this.
Yes, yep. Our design engineer and the city commission worked each other. Yep.
Thank you.
So I guess the streets in this development, are they gonna be municipal? They're not private streets, right?
They will be municipal, yes. Yep. And then we have a development agreement with the city of Negaunee. After we have 51% of the lots sold and built on, they will then take it and maintain it, pave it and maintain it themselves and put in lighting.
The city.
The city will, yeah.
The reason I say that is that, I mean, it's not for the county, I don't think we're at the wrong level to dictate how the city wants to do their roads. So I think that's a city issue, you know, I don't want to stick our
I
nose
might
in that.
qualify the questions. This really doesn't have any bearing on the action that the board takes tonight, but this just wanted to be raised so that.
Sure.
Do like this gentleman just did, explain why that is public.
And if there's residents that are concerned, we certainly should raise it. I'm just saying that, I was sitting thinking about it, I'm like, well, wait a second, why are we concerned with how they're gonna do their roads? You know?
Well, I wanted a public hearing that we brought the questions that were brought to
Sure.
the
Yeah.
county board.
I'll point out one more thing. One of the contingencies for approval was that we create an exit off of Moss Street to route all construction through there. And so that's what we're going to do first, is connect from Moss to the end of Sunset Drive and route all the construction to keep dirt and trucks and everything out of the Eastwood subdivision. So, yeah, that should address a lot of their concerns. Yep.
Does the board have any further questions?
I just have one comment. And I'll direct this up to Ann as director of the Land Bank Authority. And I'm on that authority too. We had a discussion about this project, and basically, you cited one instance where, where a brownfield authority may be created, and that was in cooperation with the land bank. So we're basically, as I understand it, working with them to make them eligible for the brownfield.
Yes, and actually, the way the process works, the developer deeded the property to the land bank yesterday. This plan then gets approved, hopefully tonight, if the board approves it, and then we deed that property back to the developer, which is exactly what we did with the TLA assisted living project.
Seems like an odd process, but.
It's a creative one.
Mr. Chairman, this is for Ann. I understood about 70% of the brownfield over the years, but I want to thank you for the next 30% that you had educated me on. And I think everybody else in here also learned exactly the rest of the story, so thank you very much.
Okay, moving along. Now, any other further public comment on the public comment? Any further public comment? One last time, any electronic correspondence? None? Thank you. Having that, we will close the hearing and close out that hearing, and we'll reopen the next hearing. And move this right along.
The adoption.
Well, we got that on a separate line item, we'll get that on 11A. Thank you, Steve. Next public hearing. This hearing, come on up. The hearing will be held tonight, after, today's date on June 21st. County Board meeting. For the purpose of the project is the removal and replacement of aged, failing water infrastructure located at K.I. Sawyer Water System. Project construction will include the installation of new generators, existing wells, storage tanks, building improvements, elevated water tank refurbishing, and associated tasks. Impacts of the proposed project include increasing reliability and performance of the water system. Proposed project cost is estimated at $2 million. The estimate cost to the users of the proposed project will be around $6 per month to the user. Copies of the plan detail are here at the following locations: K.I. Sawyer Water Treatment Plant at 125 Avenue G. Gwynn, and UP Engineering Architects located at 424 South Pine in Ishbury. Having read that in,
Okay, well, hello, thank you for having me here tonight. I'm Scott Sweenor with UP Engineers and Architects. I'm a project engineer. There is an error in the public notice, the cost, the 2 million. The actual price is 7.58 million. And this both, we had two public notices going at the same time for clean water and for drinking water, and the error wasn't caught until the second one went in. But by mentioning that here, that's part of our way of correcting it. But Eagle staff have confirmed that that does not jeopardize the process or interfere with it. So I'm going to read my part here now. That's
before you go any further.
Sure.
I guess I'd like to ask civil counsel, have we not given appropriate timeline for
Public notice.
public notice on, because this is a,
Yeah, that's a valid question. I don't know the answer off the top of my head. I can verify with legal.
okay.
let me ask, is there a specific timeline that has to be met here?
I believe it's 30 days from a public notice period to the meeting, to the hearing.
No, not the procedure.
Oh, I'm sorry.
asking your project, is there a specific timeline?
Yes, by the end of this month, we would have to have our applications into Eagle for the clean water and drinking water revolving fund applications.
So,
So we can continue with the hearing, and I will follow up with Eagle, and if there's an issue, I will let the county board know. But if we don't have the hearing tonight, it sounds like we won't make the deadline that is necessary.
Yes, that would be
If we don't
correct.
make the deadline, why is there a deadline?
Well, if you find out, can't we have a special meeting?
so can we do, this is a two-component, is that correct?
Yes, and tonight, I think this is only the water component, the drinking water revolving fund. And the reason there's a deadline is the state, they receive batches of applications by a certain date, and then they process them, they rank them, and we see if we're eligible for funding.
How about we address this component that's been in the public, publicly advertised, and we can put this behind us and then
Right,
move into,
okay.
and then we'll address.
I was just thinking when we get to the action phase of this, can we not approve it contingent upon civil
Civil
council,
council's opinion.
determining that everything's focused at it?
Although I would say that it's gonna take more than just somebody from Eagle saying it's okay, it's gonna take a legal review. Because I'll tell you what, on first blush, I'd say that it's not gonna work, because you need to give somebody fair notice that you're about to spend the people's money, and people saw $2 million, and now you're gonna spend $7.5 million, whatever you said, and
Right.
that's a little different, and people might think, wow, I might not like that, you know what I mean? So
Not only it changes the dynamic of the per cost.
but I'm okay with, if we have to have a special meeting. I understand the deadlines, and I know that, is this the Clean Drinking Water Act, is that what we're putting?
The Safe Drinking Water Act, this is
So, and
water.
I know there's a deadline coming up, because the landfill has the same deadline, but, so I understand all that, but yeah, I'm with Karen on this, that we should defer to
One
any.
more question. You indicated that the amount of the project isn't here. What about the per month user fee then?
Yes, it would be closer to $11. 11 or something. However, this is the process that gets the application in, and it does not commit us to the funding that's being applied for. This is not where, but it gets us into the Eagle, where they can rank. But at this meeting, there's not going to be any commitment to the actual funding.
I think at this point, from my perspective, what I'd like to see would be to table this. If we need to hold a special meeting, we'll do that, to get this clean.
Joe, I think The problem that we're having potentially is that we have to put public notice in the paper. If this is not correct, it has to be 30 days in advance of the public hearing. And so that would, in effect, table this project. There's no harm in proceeding with a public hearing right now and then holding another one if we need to, but we could certainly at least hold the public hearing tonight, so that way we don't need to have a special meeting if everything is kosher.
Our only concern with that is if we're telling people here tonight on this first part of it, it's gonna be $6 a month. And then they find out, and now at the second hearing, they're all gonna be here and say, no, this is too expensive.
I have a problem when it's not accurate. I mean, it's not even
It's
close
not
to
very
accurate.
notice,
It's not
call it notice for a reason, you give notice of something.
Those are my comments. The board's flavor?
Although I agree with council that I see no harm in going through the steps tonight in case it turns out it's okay. But I'm doubting very much it is okay. So there's my 2 cents in it, I guess. But I do think we should go through the steps tonight.
Fair enough. Go ahead.
When's the next cycle, by the way?
I believe there was one coming up in October, if I heard correctly. It was October or November. And, yeah, this is where, yeah, that date escapes me. Because when I was in the DEQ for 20 years, and typically these would come in the fall months, and then by spring you would have everybody ranked, and you would know if you qualified for funding. I think it was by like March or April. But now I think they've moved it up to twice a year.
If I may just add one quick thing, there is notice from Eagle that for communities that have not initially submitted their requests, they do have till October of 2022 to submit if we're not in on this initial cycle. Granted, the whole goal is to get us in as quickly as we can, because this is a one-time funding opportunity. It's over a course of a couple of years, and to be in the lead of it is critical. So my thought is I would agree that we proceed. If we have to hold another hearing, as long as we keep it before the October 2022 deadline to clarify the actual notice, we can do another meeting that would still leave us the eligibility to get into this initial 2023 cycle.
Do either of you have any experience with these kind of errors, and whether it was problematic, like as we're discussing now, or?
No, I learned of this error just myself about 2 days ago. Now, my boss, I know the Eagle people that he's working with, and if they said that it's not going to affect their process, I mean, it's going into them for their review. And I do trust the people that made that determination. But, no, and I can see your point of view too. You don't want to tell people, yeah, it's a $2 project and it's a $2 million project, if it's. But,
I wouldn't be opposed to voting or doing the application contingent upon the proper public hearing. However, I'm not sure Eagle was okay. So you got two different things going on. One is your legal issue, one is your Eagle issue. If Eagle's okay with that, great. But if you can do that and say, yeah, we'll do the application, so we meet the deadline, we don't want to miss the deadline for this grant or funding, and then make it contingent upon doing another public hearing, and if something goes backwards with the public hearing, then we'll stop the application.
Am I hearing you?
If that works, but Eagle, you'd think would want the public hearing before you do the application, so I feel like, but if they're okay with it, then I guess, who cares?
Am I hearing from Dwayne correctly that we have until October?
Eagle had put out a notification for an additional round of applicants to be in. Granted, we initially jumped in right away to get us on this first cycle, but they apparently opened up a additional window allowing us to October of 2022.
Sooner the better, okay, the sooner the better, or you might miss out.
I just don't like it when it's not clean, and it shouldn't be brought to us. Board's flavor.
Well, we're just doing a public hearing now anyway,
Right.
we'll get to it, right? Yeah, I mean, I think
Do we want to, do we want to support something that's just not accurate? And I'm certainly not feeling comfortable.
As Phil was pointing out, this is the public hearing portion, so why don't we discuss that further down in the,
Yeah.
we've got it again down here somewhere.
Action item B, 11B. 11B. Fair enough. So continue with the remaining portion of the presentation. please.
All right, all right. Okay, this meeting is held as part of the project requirements for the State of Michigan Drinking Water Revolving Fund submittal process. This program is set up for funding water system improvement projects in the state of Michigan. This is one of the funding sources for Marquette County. UP Engineers and Architects was retained by Marquette County to assist with the funding application process. This meeting will outline the purpose and impacts of the project and then open the floor up for public comment. The following is to be discussed at the public hearing. Number one, a description of the drinking water quality needs and problems to be addressed by the proposed project and the principal alternatives that were considered. Alternative one, new generators at existing wells, storage tank building improvements, elevated water tank refurbishing, water main removal and replacement, and associated tasks. Alternative number two is no action, and over time there would be a piecemeal replacement of infrastructure as it's needed. Number two, a description of the recommended alternative, including its capital costs and a cost breakdown by project components. That is supply, treatment, distribution, and storage. The total proposed project costs are estimated at $7,580,000. The options for the project are either alternative number one, moving forward with the outlined improvements, or alternative number two, no action. The preliminary cost opinion is outlined below. Okay, and we have a table of the proposed improvements and their costs, and I'll run down that as quickly as I can here. Mobilization, $700,000. Lead service line replacement. There'd be 70 lead service lines that would be replaced at a cost of $10,000. And that also includes $70,000 for curb stops and corporation stops. Water tank refurbishing, and that's $680,000. Well house improvements, $30,000. Well house generator, $200,000. 10-inch ductile iron water main, there'd be close to 8,000 feet of that, and it's $945,000. Gate valves, there'd be 41 at $123,000. Hydrant assemblies, 28 of those, $210,000. Roadway improvements, approximately 17,500 square yards, and that would be a total of $1,050,000. And then miscellaneous is $742,000. And it brings the whole project cost to $7,580,000. Number three is a discussion of project financing and costs to users, including the proposed method of project financing and estimated monthly debt retirement. The proposed annual, quarterly, or monthly charge to the typical residential customer and any special fees that will be assessed. The proposed project is to be financed through the dwarf section of the State of Michigan Revolving Loan Fund. The project is estimated to cost $7,580,000 on a 30-year, 2.125% loan with monthly payment costs of around $30,000 per month, which spread out among the 1,730 equivalent dwelling units results in an approximate cost per single-family residential user of $17 per month. This cost does not include potential grant or principal forgiveness that may be provided by the state of Michigan. It also does not factor in the current contingency built into the Marquette County Sawyer water system. Item number four, a description of the anticipated social and environmental impacts associated with the recommended alternative, and measures that will be taken to mitigate adverse impacts. No anticipated adverse social or environmental impacts for this project are expected. Construction shall take place during normal hours. The improvements are specific to existing water system infrastructure. Water service shall be maintained by the contractor throughout the construction process. And in the event no one from the public, and this is also wording from Eagle, in the event no one from the public attends the hearing, a reporter would be considered a member of the public, as would be members of the applicant's governing body. The public hearing may be opened and closed without a formal presentation of the project plan. However, a transcript or recording must still be submitted with the final project plan documenting this action. Okay, and that's the end of it there.
Thank you for reading that into the record.
All right. No, can I just take my seat or? Okay.
Public comment? Any further public comment? Public comment, any electrical? Zero, thank you. Commissioners, any further comment? Before I close the hearing? Hearing therefore closed, thank you. Privilege comment, no privilege comment. Informational items, correspondence from the Deputy State Director of Emergency Management on file, and action items as we move forward. 11A, Iron Ore Land Holding LLC Brownfield Plan for the City of Negaunee.
Move approval.
I support.
Motion by Commissioner Adamini, support by Commissioner Elholm. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Do you want?
Roll call vote, yeah, it's resolution.
Roll call vote.
Commissioner Adamini?
Yes.
Commissioner Nordine?
Yes.
Commissioner Elmore?
Yes.
Commissioner DePietro?
Yes.
And Vice Chair DeRosa?
Yes. Action item 11B, resolution adopting final project plan for water system improvements as authorized by.
So, a couple of comments.
Before
I'm not going to motion, no.
No motion?
I want to comment. Can I comment? I know we do that.
Well-
I know we're supposed to make a motion.
Procedurally, we need to have something on the floor, Bill, before we put on that.
We never have before.
Well, I'll move that we suspend the rules to permit discussion before.
Okay.
Support.
Good boy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, suspension, go ahead.
I'm concerned on one hand that I don't want to miss the opportunity for, and I understand now it's not a grant, it's a low interest loan, but, I don't want to miss the deadline and put us in a worse position to obtain that funding. However, I'm very concerned that it's a very large expenditure that affects families at Sawyer, which some families out there are low income, and this could be a lot of money to them. It could be a significant thing. I mean, $17 a month for a single family, but if you get somebody there with kids in that, it may be $30 a month, which may be $300 a year more, and that may be important to them. It may be goes off their children's back. So I think they need to have the notice, so I'm concerned about it.
I am concerned too, and I don't think interest rates will be going down this fall. So we may find out, if we get into October, it's going to be a little bit more than, what is it now, 2.2?
No, that's right. You might get locked into this, and then it might be a higher rate by the time October comes, sure.
It's, from my perspective, we had something in front of us that said $2 a month for the constituents and users.
$6.
$6.
$2 million.
$6, excuse me. And then, well, now we're looking at 17. 17. So 17 is,
3 times as much?
Yeah.
Roughly.
So I share Commissioner Nordine concern. More importantly, I think there needs to be, when we get here, we need to be transparent to the public. And when we don't have our homework done, it makes for bad work product. So that's my,
On the other hand, this has to be done.
again.
Our infrastructure out there is a mess. So,
I would say, correct the paperwork, come back as soon as possible.
But the problem is the notice needs 30 days, and you're not going to get back here before the deadline of filing, which is June 30th. So, oh, you have that, yeah, for October, yeah.
Or you don't have to wait until October 2nd.
But Steve, you bring up a good point, that the interest rates are probably going up. And that could mean a big difference. It might not be $17 a month per household, it could be $20 a month per household, right? Just by the change in interest rate. So that, I'm trying to weigh all these things. I don't know. I mean, you could make it, again, like I said earlier, you could do the application and make it contingent upon a public hearing. You can always pull it, you know? But
Commissioner, what's troubled me is the fact that we knew about this 5 days ago. And there should have been a corrective action taken 5 days earlier, you know, to put a correction in. Maybe that would have worked, maybe it wouldn't have, but it's been in here.
can you give us any idea, civil council, as to, I know just throwing the fire here, but thoughts on how to proceed? And what I'm most concerned of, because I support the project, is the fact that the notice to the users was incorrect.
I didn't catch when this has to be in for legal. What's the deadline for this batch, for this?
June 30th.
June 30th. So perhaps we table this vote, we could have a special meeting after I go back and do some research on whether this is sufficient public notice. It does seem quite different than what it was presented. So I am also questioning whether this public notice is sufficient or not. But we can do the research quickly and we can have a special meeting next week if you wanted to vote on the resolution, which would be before, I mean, we're only the 21st, so we have time. If you would like to entertain that, you can certainly choose to do that.
What do you think of that suggestion about a contingent, permission to proceed with the application contingent on giving 30 days notice and having a public hearing in July? What do you think of that?
It's a novel concept. Some of these applications, once you put them in, you can't always simply just withdraw them, and I haven't seen the application process, so I don't know, but just in looking at other grants that we have done over the past
So your
years, I don't know.
suggestion is the cleanest way would be, we've done the hearing, table the action for whatever, sometime before June 30th. In the meantime, we can find out if we have to redo something.
I could also look at the grant application to see if there are any, if there's any way to withdraw that in the event that the public hearing is not sufficient. If you wanted, to make if you wanted to pass it contingent on review of the grant application to make sure that we could withdraw it in the event that the public hearing was not sufficient.
So rather than just table it, pass a motion to approve it contingent upon proper procedures having been laid for the hearing and the grant application.
Right, and I wouldn't want to submit the grant application unless we could in fact withdraw it without penalty, in the event that this was
30
not
days ago.
sufficient. Yeah, it's a 30-day timeline.
If it wasn't for the change in interest rates, I would say wait till October, so, but that's the only thing that's
I don't know at
makes
this
me
point
hesitate,
if that's, I mean,
Maybe it's not relevant, or relevant. You said transparency.
We pride ourselves on doing things correctly, and I don't think this is correct. And
Well, we've done the public hearing, which was what was required.
the hearing is required.
Unfortunately, it has substantial errors in the dollar amount and the media amount. So we did not give people the proper notice of what was going to cost. How many people read that, I don't know, but I don't think that's the point. I think notice requirement is the point. Anyway, I will move whatever she said. You basically want to make sure you can withdraw from the grant application.
So if I can summarize the question, approve the resolution contingent on two things. One, civil council's review of the public notice requirements and whether the public notice is sufficient and that the hearing was sufficient. And two, contingent upon,
Or you're saying the ability to withdraw, but if that was
Right.
good, then we won't have to withdraw.
We don't
That's
need
good.
to.
If number one works, then they're.
right, so I can review that and get back to you before then. I really would rather not apply and then come to the conclusion that it was invalid. Now, there may be a way to correct that and still have the grant application go through. If DEQ is willing to accept the grant application and let us renotice, excuse me, it's not DEQ anymore, it's DEQ.
You mean renotice it within a week and see if it's okay?
So,
They may require another 30-day
motion
notice.
approved with civil council's review next week.
Well, I guess that's the other option, just table it for a week and get the review on the questions submitted to the board at that time. Otherwise, and, have a special meeting, whatever, week, 9 days, whatever. So, what's the best option?
The only problem is if we do that, we might just pass the resolution for now. I mean, all we need to do is this one piece, the resolution. Whether or not it fits, it makes the package work is a different issue, which is the package to Eagle needs that, you gotta have done these steps. One is the public hearing. Our only step here really is just this passing this resolution. And you can make it contingent upon civil council confirming that the public hearing was indeed valid. And then, but you might as well do it tonight. Why come back for that? Well, I think Karen already made a motion, sort of. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, sort of.
I don't want to step on her motion,
Let's
But
move this forward.
in response to what your point you're making, that public notice wasn't really, whatever you're hearing on public notice, that was incorrect.
but let her notice that. Let her decide.
Okay, so I move to approve the resolution and to ask civil council to review the grant application in terms of addressing the withdrawal or application.
Well,
I guess I'm still not exactly in tune.
So
let me try. Can I try?
Yeah.
I would make a motion that we adopt this resolution and make it contingent upon civil council confirming whether or not the public hearing was appropriate. Valid, better word. Public hearing valid.
And then,
Motion on the floor. Supported.
I'll support it.
Motion by Commissioner
unless you were
Nardini,
going to support it.
supported by Commissioner Alholm. Comments?
Yeah, I want to debate it. I think the result of this, if it's sufficient votes to pass it, it's only going to apply to the, we've only approved the spending of $2 million.
I don't think so, because, I mean, the resolution only says that we adopt the plan, the project plan that was presented by UPEA, and it doesn't say that we adopt the public hearing. It's a different part of the process, you know. We're just adopting the resolution.
But the notice that was paper to the public
It's a different issue.
says that the whole project cost is estimated at $2 million.
We have a motion on the floor, and a support. We're gonna take a vote. So,
It's a resolution.
resolution vote. Commissioner,
Oh, wow, she doesn't, she do the resolution?
go ahead.
Commissioner Nordine,
Yes.
Commissioner Alholm,
Yes.
Commissioner DePietro,
Seeing I'm one of the very few lawyers here, I'll say yes.
Commissioner Adamini,
No.
Vice Chair
No. Motion carries 3-2.
Well, no, because resolutions have to have a majority of the sitting commissioners, it needs 4.
Didn't pass. Motion failed.
Okay, so the next step in this will be to start the process all over again.
Maybe it's delayed.
Commissioner, I can research this issue
You can bring it back to us.
order and report back to you, and you may still be able to have a special meeting.
There you go.
That's fine, if you get back,
Motion failed. Moving on. 11C, Jansen Post request.
I move approval of the $100,000 in Jansen House fund.
support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Nordine, support by Commissioner Adamini. Discussion.
You know, I think the Jansen House, it's an incredible feat that they've done for so many years, providing this sort of service. I mean, we really need it in our community, we really do. There's a lot of people that go unrecognized, like you three there, and you spend a lot of time and effort and don't get compensated for it, so I recognize you and we recognize you. And the least we can do is give a little money towards it. I hope that, what I heard Karen Anderson say, that we have 100,000, the community pitched in 60,000, and that's gonna be a match or a seed to try to get the legislature to do something, so I hope that's true. If there's anything we can do to help that, if we can call, our senators and reps and everyone else, you let us know, we're happy to do that. So I think it's a good thing. I was very surprised that there's 28 rooms over there. I think I saw 27 in one spot, 28 in another spot when I was reading literature, and that's amazing. That's a good project, good thing.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. DePietro?
I feel very confident that with us being able to supply the funding, that it's going to be used immediately, because they need as much help as they can to do whatever they have to do there, so I totally support this program.
Thank you. I also would like to thank Robert, Dave, and Karen for all the things they do for others, and I certainly am supportive of that project as well. Commissioner?
And my law office was next door to the Johnson since 1975, and what they have done with it is so much better now than it was back in 1975, so I'm enthusiastic.
All in favor for the Jansen House ARPA request? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. No late additions. Public comment.
Oh, we got one more.
We have one more action.
11D, we missed one.
11D.
Oh, Chinese. Chinese building demo. Wayne?
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. What I have before you is a memo addressing some of the challenges that we're facing with the building demo project that we're trying to undertake at Sawyer. As this committee knows that, or this commission knows that we have requested to demo 13 buildings, and we have to follow a specific process with the FAA and the environmental review of the demolition and in relation to the historic standings of the airport. Initially, we were working with Trimedia and a consulting firm of Commonwealth, and they had the impression that Sawyer potentially fell under a historic preservation status. Unfortunately, that caught most of us by surprise, to include myself and Trimedia. Since then, we had we engaged with another consulting firm to assist us in readdressing this and submitting the paperwork up for SHPO to review. Unfortunately, we submitted all the paper and SHPO is requesting additional information in with that. And the additional information consists of the impacts the former airbase had on the community, the region, and some of the planning efforts that went into the location of the base's original construction. This adds a whole additional layer of work that needs to be accomplished for us to develop this information. We're also willing to work internally with our planning department to get this. To keep this process moving expeditiously, we're hoping that we can move this through on a couple different paths. First off is, as you folks know, we did initially go with Commonwealth, and then we brought on Mead and Hunt. And Mead and Hunt is a very experienced consulting firm in with this process with the FAA. We addressed this additional work. Mead and Hunt had provided a estimate for the additional work to be completed in conjunction with Tri-Media's expenses. To move forward with this, it would add an additional $102,217.29. That would be a not to exceed amount. With this additional fee, there is challenges with timelines. This would add potentially upwards of 6 additional months to the process to develop this information. Initially, I didn't think it was going to be as intense, but doing a deeper dive into it, it does appear as though SHPO is requesting substantial additional information. Now, we have been working closely with the FAA and SHPO and trying to develop a plan to move forward with this. We are looking to work at, like I was stating, in a couple different paths so that we can keep this process rolling. One of them is to work with SHPO to see if they would be amendable to allow us to continue the process of the demolition project while creating the additional paperwork that they're requesting, or the additional information, so that the two projects, the additional information research and the demolition, could run simultaneously, and that would allow us to have the buildings demolition this year, keeping us on track and on schedule for the demolition, and then potentially to avoid additional costs related to the cost of energy increases and delays to this. With that, we also are pursuing another path, hoping that we can develop a memorandum of understanding between Marquette County, the FAA, and SHPO, so that all parties involved would understand the process and understand that every entity is going to abide by the need of the request, but in the same token allowing the Federal Aviation Administration to issue the grant prior to the development of this document, so that we would be able to pursue the project, draw down on federal funds, and stay on track. Now, in the event that we are unsuccessful with that communications with the FAA and SHPO to access the federal funds prior to the development of this project, there is a potential that Marquette County would be, if so choose this evening, Marquette County would be liable to pay forward on the entire project, roughly at a cost of about $2,934,125 beforehand, and then as soon as all of the additional paperwork is submitted, then be able to get the final grant application and draw down on the funds after the project is over.
So we have a recommendation from staff to approve Tri-Media Consulting Service Agreement, addendum number 1, cost not to exceed $102,000.
Well, if you want to do everything proper, I guess I'll make a motion to follow staff's recommendation.
Yeah, but
Well,
Do we have support?
I guess I'll support,
Okay.
but I want to discuss it.
Commissioner Nordine, motion,
supported by Commissioner Adney. Go ahead. Thank you. You know, did anybody that made this recommendation for consideration actually come there and look at these 13 buildings?
Yes, they did. Commonwealth came out and did their initial investigation. They came and looked, and to answer that question a little bit more in depth is the actual SHPO development, the State Historic Preservation Office is not necessarily looking just at the particular buildings. They're looking at the broader scope of the base, not just those buildings. They're looking at the impact of the whole base to include the residential area. And
I wouldn't mind that. But what if, let's say, they say, well, there's 13 buildings you want to destroy, but we think you should preserve 7 of them. The cost of getting rid of all that mold and garbage and junk in there, I mean, it would...
We wouldn't restore them, we would just let them sit if that really came.
Right, I know it, and they're a health hazard.
if I may, is just understanding this aspect of it, the whole SHPO process, even if they deem the whole base or portions of the base historic, that does not mean that they would stop the demolition. There would have to be further mitigation in a way that we would develop some kind of process or paperwork to reflect the historic aspects of these buildings. At the end of the day, the 13 buildings that we have slated for demolition will be destroyed. It's today is the question of, do we wait for the process to finish and then move forward to demo the buildings, or do we request the ability to demolition the buildings while the historic documentation is compiled, and then couple that with the risk that Marquette County would be having to front load the funding for this, because the project would most likely, the demolition project would most likely be completed prior to the actual SHPO documentation being submitted.
And the cost that we'd have to front would be $2 million?
Roughly 2.9 million.
And do we have funds available to cover the $3 million upfront load on this, for this project?
What do we want to?
I want to know if it's coming out of passenger, where's it coming out of?
Well, there is some of the CARES Act money that we have collected over.
We got $18 million out there, the CARES Act.
Now, with that being said, that
We thought the money we're trying to, we gotta get permission from SHPO for it.
So what we're trying to do tonight is to the Vice Chair's point, is to what was being brought up by Elena. We're looking to keep the process moving so that, to one of the Commissioner's comment, to keep it moving as timely as we can. I don't see that there's much of an alternative other than to approve the amendment, as frustrating as it is for us. But we also work simultaneous tracks. One being, can we get some other alternatives and maybe use the FAA to front the money before we would even come back and front it ourselves. So we wouldn't be approving that tonight. So we'll be working multiple fronts, trying to move forward with getting that moving for the required work that SHPO is at.
So I have all kinds of questions. So, well, first of all, what's before us right now is $102,000 roughly to pay Tri-Media to do some extra work that now it's going to cost us, because of what's going on, it's going to cost us $102,000 at least. Then I hear you saying $2.9 million, which isn't before us, I don't think. So, I mean,
No.
you're going to throw in a whole different thought there. Then I heard, well, do we have the money? Well, we have money out there from the CARES Act, but this is the CARES Act money. That's what we're trying to spend, is the CARES Act money. We need to go through this process, right? So I feel like we're in a big circle there, sort of.
Well, let me
Correct.
clarify. So we've been reimbursed for the past, year and a half
yes,
from FAA for our operating expenses.
Yes.
Each quarter, I submit, so that funding is sitting in the airport fund, that's why
Oh.
we have enough.
Right, okay. Well, I find that interesting, because I said that before, that, you know, a lot of times you said, oh, you can only spend it on so many things. I said, yeah, but you spend it on your operating costs, and it frees up money that you would have had your operating costs, but anyway. But then I have another comment that I want to make, because I can't help myself, that, you know, if the federal government is going to put these kind of requirements on us, then they better be efficient. And I feel like the federal government, and the state government for that matter, their efficiency has gone to shit in the last 2 years. And half the people are working from home, and they gotta get back to work and get on these things. And it drives me nuts. And not just, I'll tell you what though, I think it's gotten worse in the last 2 years, because I think people feel like it's okay to be inefficient. However, now my mind just popped back to the fact that Sawyer's now been gone, the Air Force has been gone since '95, so that's 27 years ago, and we still have properties like the Mike Wills property that still hasn't been conveyed. 27 years we've been working on conveying properties. So, the federal government does not operate very well. And now what they just did is they cost us $102,000 at least, because that's just this one thing. $102,000 just because they delayed it, because they what, made Sawyer a historic area? I mean, that's absurd. I mean, if they made part of Sawyer historic, like where the airplanes are sitting and, you know, certain things, certain aspects, but to make the whole thing a general historic district is absolutely absurd. And if they're gonna do it, then they better be timely in responding to us. And you know what? My words today are gonna get absolutely nothing better. It's not gonna get any better, but at least I got to say it, damn it.
All right, we have a motion of support.
I hate to spend the money, but I don't think we have any choice.
Staff recommendation. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Open. No ladies, public comment. Public comment.
Thank you for supporting the Jansen. That's, I think, you've had a long meeting tonight, but as you go home, consider the accomplishment with regard to the Jansen. We will spend the money well on immediate needs, and we're going to be working with the Marquette Foundation, Sosa Eppensteiner and the consultant Linda Fowler were up here, and they will help us figure out how best to use the money you've appropriated to leverage not only state money, but also money from other foundations that might be willing to support the effort. So thank you very much for your continued support of the Jansen.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, one comment
Yeah.
to you. You said ours was kind of long, but when I was at your meetings, they were 2.5 hours long.
Very true.
Yeah. Thank you. Public comment.
I'm Paul Sanford. I spoke here last year. I hate to bring this up because it sounds like you people have a lot of work. But my question is, the property owners have been trying to get some improvements done on the Ingman Lake Road in Scandia Township, in West Branch Township. And I've been meeting with the township supervisors and going to their meetings, and we haven't gotten anywhere. They have apparently no plan for the future, have no desire to make a plan. And so I'm coming to the board tonight to ask if there's anything that the county board could do to spur these people on to have a plan to try to do something with the roads in general and specific the Ingman Lake Road, because there's at least 45 in a 2.7 mile stretch, 45 residences along that road. And the road's in terrible condition. It's become a thorough corridor way for traffic and service vehicles from cutting across from 35 to 94. A lot of traffic, there's homes in there, a lot of children, pets, no speed limits. And the road, like I said, is in terrible shape. School buses travel it. And my hope is that there's some way is there a way we can do an emergency millage to get some repairs done, spur the township supervisors to do something? I don't know. Well, property owners are are asking me if I heard anything. Apparently, there was supposed to be some meetings starting last January. And I went to the board meeting, West Branch, last week. Nothing was accomplished, apparently. So there's no plan for the future, and I guess that's my question. Is there anything we can do?
Well, I'd like to thank you for your public comment, but I will direct you to the Marquette County Road Commission. Both Commissioner Nordine and myself are on as liaisons. We will certainly get that information to Jim Iwaniki.
I've talked to him, and he was like talking to a stone wall.
And,
I'm sorry, it was just
This is
a
an issue we talked about before.
couple weeks ago.
right, and again, this is a public comment call.
I'm sorry, yeah.
We take, no, appreciate your public comment. I was under the impression that that ball had been moving forward, but we can have that discussion, as we move forward at the road commission.
Okay. Would it be appropriate for property owners to go to the road commission meeting,
I
or,
think absolutely, I think that would be what needs to happen.
and when is the next meeting?
It's Mondays,
I'll get you that information.
Okay, I'll leave Cindy my information, and I appreciate everything that you do, and appreciate this time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Public comment. Public comment, any further public comment?
Zero.
Commissioner comments? Shoot.
I'm talking a lot.
Oh.
I'm glad to see that no one's
Talk
on.
about what I get your seat.
I'm glad to see no one's on, hey, I'm glad to see no one's on the electronic, that means people are starting to come back to the meetings, I like that. As you might have gathered from before, I'm not a big fan of doing things electronically. I understand the problem at England Lake, and it's a problem that we have throughout Marquette County, and people like to come to the county board because it sounds like it should be the place to come to, but unfortunately it's not, because the roads, those roads are jointly owned and jointly cared for by the local township, West Branch Township, and the road commission. I don't know what to do about that. England Lake Road is a terrible road. I went to a single car rollover accident there about a month and a half ago, and this elderly lady rolled her vehicle over right in the middle of the road. I mean, she just like turned and hit something, and it was rolling right down the road. So I don't know how to address that. I did suggest at one point, Mr. Chair, that, and I don't know if you were here for that, that maybe we could set up a fund through our ARPA money, which would be a revolving loan that we could loan to the local townships to let them fix roads and then repay it, and then go to somebody else, we could have this revolving fund. And we can go back and visit that again. But I'll tell you what, besides that, I'm at a loss to what to do. I don't know what to do.
Yes, Commissioner, in response to that, the road commission held countless hearings and gatherings and meetings with the 19 township supervisors to have direction on where to spend the ARPA money, and those townships all had a consensus that they went with the chip seal, and that's where the funding. So there was that discussion that was brought up. It didn't.
Buy that piece of equipment, so the idea was the townships would be able to, what?
Pay for it.
There'd be a the road commission would share the cost instead of requiring the whole township to pay for the repair. I can't remember if that was.
No, that's right. And do it with their own labor, and it would be cheaper, instead of having the money to do a mile, they'd be able to have money to do 5 miles, and yes, there's lots of reasons why they want to do the chip seal. I'm not opposed to that, but I guess I'm not sure. I feel bad for these people, and what roads, and I'm not sure what to do with them. I mean, they could go, the pressure that really needs to be had is to the township. I hate to say that, because West Branch will be mad at me, but that's the fact. I mean, those townships are the ones that initiate road improvements. They have to initiate them. If you can go to road commission all you want, but the road commission's gonna tell you that. They're gonna say, have the township talk to us, and they'll initiate it, and they gotta pay, you know what I mean? And that's the problem. But some townships are better equipped maybe, or have more millage, or have more funds to do it, and others don't. And I don't know what to do. But I guess you didn't like the thought of the ARPA funds for a revolving fund to fund townships.
Again, those were township directions. Any further commissioner comments? Commissioner DePietro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today, June 21st, is the longest daylight of the year. So a lot of people forget about this. But anyway, starting tomorrow, June the 22nd, we'll start losing 3 minutes per day of daylight. I know. It's been a mystery. I learned this in grade school. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No further comments, meeting adjourned.
Nice job. Oh, we had some sticky issues.